Alright, so I'm going to show you how you are going to glue up and line up your scrap boards for your clipboard cutting board project. So first things first is finding your pieces. So as you can see, I found 7 different scrap pieces that I liked that came together nicely, okay, and I arranged those how I wanted. Next thing I did was I numbered each board in the order I want to glue them together, and I wrote my initials. So if you were sharing a locker with someone, you won't get your pieces mixed up in case you were not able to glue them up that first day. Okay? So now that I have my pieces, I'm going to double check that there's no gaps in between my boards. So as you can see here, right now there's some gaps, right? When I push them together, there should be a tight fit. So you can see between 2 and 3, there's no gap. Okay, all the way down. That is how it should be for every single one of these boards. If there is a gap, then you need to take the pieces over to me and I will straighten them out on the jointer. Okay? Alright, so now it is time to line them up and glue them up. So we're going to take our square here and I'm going to put it in the top corner of our boards. This is just going to help keep our boards somewhat level, all right, on one of the edges, okay? So when we finish gluing this up and it's dry, we're going to have to cut off the other edge, right? And if we don't have that lined up, if both edges are a bit goofy, we're going to have to cut both edges, right? And we're going to waste a lot of material that way. So we're going to push all these boards up against that square. All right, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but just get it close enough that we don't have to waste too much excess. So just like that, okay? That's my top, all right? My bottom's gonna be a little wonky, but that's okay. We'll cut that off. This piece is a little short, okay? So some things that I have ready for gluing is obviously we have our wood glue. I also have a wet paper towel in case there's any drips right away, and then clean my fingers off. You'll see why in a moment. All right, and then I also grabbed a brush. So make sure that your table is free of any debris, just because you don't want that in your project. Plus, you wouldn't want that underneath your boards. That can mess up your project height as well, okay? So just make sure that your table's cleaned off before you do this. All right. So what I'm doing now is I'm lifting up each of these boards and just tilting it on its side, all right? So flipping it over to the left, to the left. So what this will help me do is I'm going to be able to glue each one of these boards individually, and then I'll be able to knock them down like dominoes and glue them all together. Alright, so I'm starting with this first board. So as you can see, I put one streak of wood glue down the board. I'm going to take my finger and we're just going to spread it all the way around, okay? So now you don't want to add too much glue that it's dripping off the edge of your board, but we want to add enough that it covers the entire edge, okay? Now if there are some drips that do come out of the sides, it's okay, it's easy to clean up, but we do not want to make a huge mess of this. So we're going to go all the way down the board. So you're going to do that for each one of your boards, okay? Alright, so I have all of my boards glued up except my last one. The reason is because the board before it has glue on it, so we won't need to glue both pieces, okay? So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to do the domino effect. We're going to flip them, and then connect them, okay? And just go all the way down the line. Alright, we have our last one. So now, double check. Is our top squared up? If it's not, move those pieces to where they need to be, because now is the time to clamp. Alright, so now that they're all lined up, we're going to clear our area. We're going to get ready for clamping, okay? So we have these larger clamps here. They're a little tricky to use, so to use these, to move larger spaces, what we need to do is we need to push down on this little lever here, and it allows you to move it forward and backwards. So I'm going to use that for going the larger distances, the farther distances. Once we are locked in where we need to go, I'm going to use the knob here, and we're just going to spin that spindle and then shut it closed. So it does help to do this on the edge of a table. That way you're able to spin this, all right, when you're ready to close it up. Right now I have it clamped on there, but not tightly. All right, I just moved the bar up so that it's resting the pieces together, okay? So I'm not going to tighten it up until I have my other clamps on. It is important though, when you do move this lever here, that the spindle is out far enough, right, and that foot is back far enough, okay? You wouldn't want this all the way up to the knob, all the way up to the bar, all right? Otherwise you're not able to tighten it. So I'm gonna put the other one on real quick. All right, so now that I have both clamps on, now I'm able to spin these tightly closed. All right, so now that it's tightly closed, all right, you can see that glue starting to spew out. This is where the wet paper towel comes in. I'm just gonna wipe that away. Once this is all cleaned up, you're gonna let this dry overnight.